All right, what's up, guys? Jackson Ape here today with Apex Training and Nutrition, and today we're going to discuss how I warm up. A few videos ago, we discussed how and why warming up is so important. We talked about how there are definitely different ways to construct your warm up, different philosophies, different systems. We're just going to go over the system that I have created and that I use for myself and all the people that I work with. And I have gotten great results from this. I want to talk about why I do it, and then we'll dive into kind of what this looks like on a day-to-day basis. First and foremost, I construct my warm up in this fashion because it serves a conditioning purpose. As a strength and conditioning specialist, I think a lot of people neglect conditioning work at all, or they put it on the back burner or at the end of their session, always saying they're going to get to it and they never truly do. Your warm up is a great opportunity to include some form of conditioning into your routine. The easiest way to do this is honestly just to make it a circuit. Supersets also do a great job of adding a conditioning component into your training as well. Ultimately, things like this are just improving your work capacity, how much work you can do in a given time frame without getting tired. The more that increases, the more work that you can do and handle, the stronger and more condition that you're going to get over time. By constructing the warm up in the way that I do, it serves that purpose and checks that box perfectly for myself. And like I said, for all of the athletes and clients that I work with. This also does a really great job of preparing our tissues for the demands that we're about to be placed on them from the workout that's ahead. And the way we do this is high repetition sets. We pick 3 exercises typically, sometimes 4, and we either doing 3 or 4 rounds, so 3 to 4 sets of 25 reps on every single exercise that we pick. This can change and this will change a little bit depending upon the movement or what we are doing, but for the most part, these high repetitions stay the same. When we're looking to activate our muscles, 2 sets of 10 isn't really going to do what we need it to do. We need to push lots of blood volume, blood supply into our muscles, into our joints to get them warmed up, activated, and prepared, like I said, to do the work that we're about to ask of them to do. I usually start off my warm-up with some form of mobility and core activation. The mobility is going to be catered to whether it's a lower body day or an upper body day to what I deem needs kind of just loosening up a little bit. For my lower body days, this doesn't change a ton. It's going to involve my hips, something whether that's internal or external rotation, or just kind of taking my hips through a full range of motion, getting some blood in there, and loosening up the area. For upper body day, it's going to be anything from a dumbbell or kettlebell pullover, to a lat stretch with the rack or with some bands. And usually on my upper body days as well, I like to throw in some form of shoulder prep. This could be anything from chest supported YTWs, standing YTWs, anything with a PVC bar, shoulder swimmers, things of that nature. I'm going to make a lot of videos that talk about these certain individual exercises, how they plug into your warm-up, essentially what they're activating, what they're doing, the purpose, and then how you can plug them into your training, into your warm-ups as well. So now that we talked about, like I said, why it's so important to warm up, the reasoning of why I construct my warm-ups the way I do, and how to get a conditioning aspect out of it, here are essentially how I structure my warm-ups. The lower day 1 is going to be a squat workout. The lower day 2 is always going to be a deadlift workout. So as you can see, the primary movement of the warm-up is going to sort of reflect what I'm going to do with my main movement that day. I do still like to change foot placements, the angle that my foot is pointing, when I'm doing stuff like squat warm-ups, just to essentially prepare my tissues for load in different angles, ranges of motion, things of that nature. It's essentially just preparing my tissues to withstand the loads that I'm placing on them. So for my lower day 1, I'm always going to start with some form of squat movement. This can be a goblet squat where I'm holding a kettlebell or a dumbbell up, or some form of belt squat where I have a belt on that's attached to a low cable pulley machine. I'm then going to follow that up with some form of hamstring accessory. This is usually going to be a hamstring curl or a hamstring isometric. From there, I'm just going to do some form of upper back work. Upper back is extremely important for a multitude of reasons, but it's really good to just sneak in some extra volume here and get that ready right before we hit squats. So this will be done in a circuit. I'll go from the squat to the hinge to the upper back, and I will repeat that 3 to 4 times, doing high repetition sets every single time. The lower day 2 warm-up is going to have some form of hinge movement. The RDL and good morning are in there from time to time, but this primarily stays as a kettlebell swing. I'm a big proponent of kettlebell swings. I think it's a very explosive, powerful movement. I usually feel explosive and powerful after I do them, and it's a very good work capacity exercise for your hamstrings and glutes. I get a tremendous contraction in my hamstrings and glutes from kettlebell swings, so they are a mainstay in my warm-ups. They don't typically come out. This will be followed up with some quad accessory of some sort, usually a split squat to get some unilateral work in there, or an isometric of some sort. Usually it's a lunge isometric, so I just hold a lunge in the bottom position. Every now and then this will be a Bulgarian split squat that I just hold in the bottom position. This is just putting my quad under length and challenging me to hold a certain position while my quad is lengthened and under tension. And then I usually throw in some form of plyometric as well on this lower body day on my deadlift days. The reason I do this is because, as you guys will hear us talk about the term, if you don't lose it, you're going to lose it. Or if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So if we're not training specific qualities, plyometrics are usually very, very explosive movements. Well, you have a lot of people talk about how they don't practice certain things after a certain amount of time. So a lot of people don't typically jump when they're done with high school sports, or if they're fortunate enough to be a collegiate athlete. As soon as your playing days are done, people typically quit jumping. Well, when you jump in your high school softball reunion tournament or local rec league basketball game and you blow your Achilles out, it's because you're jumping all of a sudden when you haven't jumped in years, so your body isn't used to that movement, that activity. That's that tissue prep we've been talking about. So by including jumps into my program, this also helps in the field of strongman as well, because we have to have strong Achilles, strong ankles, strong knees, strong feet. So by including jumps regularly into my programming, I'm attaining that explosive movement quality by continuously training it and having that in there. My upper body warm-up days typically don't have too much variance. There's always going to be some form of pressing movement, because that's what my upper body days consist of, whether that's a bench press or a shoulder press of some sort. It's going to be a pressing movement. Typically, this is going to be done with dumbbells or kettlebells. Every now and then I will throw in the bamboo bar, but I do like to do a lot of things with the dumbbells and kettlebells in that aspect. We're going to follow that up with a lat pull down or a chest supported row. Especially on bench days, I'm looking to prime, my mid to upper back, add some thickness as well. Lat pull downs are going to check that box tremendously well. And same with the chest supported rows. So those are always going to be pushed very, very hard on this day in my warm up. High repetitions, getting a lot of blood flow to that area, getting a good pump before we start our pressing movement. And so we can get a lot out of that pressing movement. On my upper day one, it's typically going to be a heavier pressing movement. So I throw in a tricep extension, whether that's a cable machine, but I really like to utilize dumbbells and kettlebells for that as well. The reason the triceps is in there on that day is just to help with the pressing movement, to get my triceps primed, because we are going to be doing some form of pressing. On the second upper body day, that's typically a lighter pressing day, and so much like the plyometric on my secondary lower day, I have a med ball slam on my upper body day, on the secondary upper body day. And the reason I do this is, again, it's because I want to keep and attain that explosive movement property by training that quality of being explosive, being powerful, exerting a high amount of force in a short window of time. I think med ball slams are tremendously effective, and especially when we are doing a lighter pressing day in general. By throwing that in on your warm up, as soon as you start pressing your implement or whatever you're using, and it's a lighter weight, by throwing these med ball slams in, that weight is going to feel even lighter, because you're just going to be springy out of your press. These are all the reasons of why I construct my warm-up the way that I do. It fits me well. This is how I run things for all the athletes that I work with, all the clients that I work with. This is what I recommend to a lot of people. Mainly because this is just a big template, and it's a good plug and play. You can throw in whatever movements that you see fit or that you would like to do in this form, in this fashion, and get similar benefits from what I'm getting from mine. I use mine specifically for whatever endeavors or whatever the competition that is on the horizon that is calling for. And so my warm-ups will always look a little bit different throughout different times of the year, but there will always be mainstays in it. And this does a tremendous job of, like I said, checking that conditioning box getting a little bit of hypertrophy work in there, preparing our tissues, preparing our mind, and getting us ready to do the work that we need to do. So thank you guys for watching.